Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know that being a woman of wisdom is not about intelligence alone. It's about walking in purpose, making sound decisions, and standing firm in your identity. A truly smart woman is not just well-read, she is well-guided, entered by vision, by discipline, and by principles that govern success. A smart woman understands that her value is not determined by the opinions of others, the circumstances she faces, or the labels society tries to place on her. She knows that her worth is intrinsic, not conditional. It is not based on what she has, what she does, or who she is connected to. She does not allow external factors to dictate her self-perception because she understands that true value comes from within. When a woman truly knows her value, she walks differently, talks differently, and makes decisions that align with her purpose rather than seeking validation from others. The world will always try to assign a price tag to people based on their appearance, status, or accomplishments. But a wise woman knows that if she does not define her own worth, someone else will do it for her, and they will always undervalue her. She refuses to be measured by fleeting standards because she understands that trends change, but purpose remains. A woman who knows her worth does not compromise her values for temporary acceptance. She does not shrink herself to fit into spaces that were never meant for her in the first place. Instead, she stands firm in her identity, knowing that she brings something unique and valuable to every table she sits at. A woman's value is not in how many people approve of her, but in how well she understands her purpose. The need for approval can be one of the greatest traps that keep women from realizing their full potential. When a woman depends on validation from others, she becomes a prisoner of their expectations. She begins to live for applause rather than authenticity. But a woman who knows her value is not moved by the shifting opinions of people. She does not need permission to be great, and she does not wait for acceptance to pursue her destiny. She understands that her worth is established, not negotiated. A smart woman also protects her value by setting boundaries. She does not allow just anyone to have access to her mind, her time, or her emotions. She recognizes that her energy is precious, and she does not waste it on relationships, conversations, or situations that do not serve her growth. She is selective about who she allows into her life because she knows that her surroundings influence her self-worth. If she surrounds herself with people who constantly belittle her, she risks internalizing their negativity. But when she surrounds herself with those who recognize and respect her value, she flourishes. She also understands that knowing her value means she must constantly invest in herself. She is always learning, growing, and developing because she knows that potential alone is not enough. She refines her skills, sharpens her mind, and deepens her wisdom. She does not wait for opportunities. She prepares for them. A woman who knows her worth does not settle for mediocrity because she understands that she was designed for greatness. She is not intimidated by challenges because she knows that every difficulty is an opportunity to prove her strength. When a woman truly knows her worth, she no longer entertains things that do not align with her destiny. She does not waste time trying to prove herself to people who do not see her value. She does not engage in comparisons because she understands that her uniqueness is her advantage. She does not chase after things that are beneath her because she knows that what is meant for her will recognize and respect her worth. She walks with confidence, knowing that she does not have to compete when she was created to stand out. A woman's value is not in what she wears, what she drives, or how many people admire her. Her value is in her wisdom, her strength, and her purpose. She understands that true beauty is not in outward appearances, but in the power she carries within. She knows that her presence alone is impactful, and she does not need to over-explain or overcompensate to prove it. A woman who knows her worth does not lower herself to be accepted. She rises knowing that she was never meant to fit in. She was meant to lead. A smart woman understands that life is not about seeking approval, but about fulfilling a purpose. She is not moved by trends or the ever-changing opinions of people. Instead, she focuses on the vision that has been placed in her heart. She knows that chasing popularity leads to emptiness, but walking in purpose brings true fulfillment. The world often pressures women to conform, to fit into expectations, and to seek validation from others. But a wise woman resists this trap because she understands that living for the applause of people will make her a slave to their opinions. She does not allow the fear of rejection to silence her, or the desire for acceptance to pull her away from her true calling. A woman who follows purpose does not waste time comparing herself to others. She understands that every individual has a unique assignment, and her job is to fulfill hers with excellence. Comparison is a distraction that leads to frustration. Instead of measuring her success by someone else's journey, she focuses on her own path. She is not concerned with looking successful on the outside while feeling lost on the inside. She seeks alignment with her destiny, not just admiration from people. The desire to be liked is fleeting, but the impact of a purposeful life lasts for generations. A smart woman is willing to make sacrifices for her purpose. She understands that doing what she is called to do may not always be popular, but it will always be worth it. She is not afraid to say no to things that do not align with her goals. She does not compromise her values for temporary recognition. When faced with choices, she chooses long-term impact over short-term gratification. She is disciplined enough to delay certain pleasures because she knows that true success is not instant. It is cultivated over time. She is not distracted by applause or discouraged by criticism because she knows her focus must remain on what truly matters. A woman of purpose does not allow fear to dictate her decisions. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, and fear of judgment have stopped many from walking in their calling. But a smart woman knows that fear is an illusion meant to keep her from moving forward. She understands that failing while pursuing purpose is better than succeeding at something meaningless. She does not allow setbacks to define her. She learns from every experience and keeps moving forward with determination. She knows that purpose requires perseverance, and she is willing to push through challenges because she understands that greatness is on the other side of struggle. She also surrounds herself with people who encourage her growth. A smart woman does not keep company with those who only praise her, but never push her to be better. She values relationships that challenge her to think bigger, work harder, and stay true to her purpose. She is not afraid to walk alone if necessary because she understands that not everyone is meant to accompany her on her journey. She would rather be misunderstood for walking in purpose than be celebrated for doing something that is not meant for her. A woman who chooses purpose over popularity understands that external validation is temporary, but fulfillment is lasting. She does not base her self-worth on the number of followers she has, the opinions of others, or how many people approve of her choices. She remains focused on her assignment, knowing that success is not about being noticed, but about making a difference. She does not waste time trying to prove herself to people who do not see her value. Instead, she directs her energy toward becoming the best version of herself so that she can fulfill the reason she was created. She refuses to be distracted by competition, knowing that her only competition is becoming better than she was yesterday. A smart woman understands that whatever enters her heart and mind will shape her thoughts, decisions, and ultimately her destiny. She does not allow just anything to take root in her spirit because she knows that her mind is the battlefield where victories and defeats are determined. She is careful about what she listens to, what she watches, and what she entertains, because she understands that everything carries an influence. She does not consume negativity, gossip, or toxic opinions, because she knows that whatever she feeds her mind will eventually become her reality. She is intentional about filling herself with wisdom, knowledge, and inspiration that align with her purpose and strengthen her confidence. She knows that words have power, and she is careful about the voices she allows to speak into her life. She does not entertain people who constantly belittle her, limit her vision, or make her doubt herself. She understands that repeated negativity, even in small doses, can plant seeds of insecurity and self-doubt. She is selective about the conversations she engages in and the advice she follows. She surrounds herself with people who uplift, challenge, and inspire her to grow, rather than those who drain her energy and keep her stagnant. She knows that the people she listens to will shape her perspective, and her perspective will determine the decisions she makes. A woman of wisdom guards her heart because she understands that emotions can be deceptive. She does not allow temporary feelings to lead her into permanent decisions. She does not let offense, resentment, or bitterness take root in her heart because she knows that carrying negative emotions will only weigh her down. She practices forgiveness, not because people always deserve it, but because she refuses to allow toxic emotions to hold her hostage. She understands that an unguarded heart is vulnerable to manipulation, and she refuses to let circumstances dictate her peace. She remains emotionally disciplined, knowing that her reactions determine whether she is in control or being controlled. She is also mindful of the environments she places herself in. She understands that the atmosphere she surrounds herself with affects her mindset. She does not entertain chaos, drama, or distractions that pull her away from her purpose. She values peace, clarity, and focus, and she intentionally creates an environment that reflects those priorities. She is careful about the music she listens to, the books she reads, and the media she consumes, because she understands that everything she takes in is either building her up or breaking her down. She does not allow anything to poison her confidence, distort her self-worth, or weaken her vision. A smart woman recognizes that guarding her mind is not just about avoiding negativity, but also about actively feeding her spirit with the right things. She invests in personal growth, seeks wisdom, and continuously expands her understanding. She surrounds herself with mentors, reads books that challenge her thinking, and engages in conversations that stretch her perspective. She is always learning because she knows that an untrained mind is a vulnerable mind. She does not settle for surface knowledge. She digs deep to understand truth and principles that will sustain her through life's challenges. She also sets boundaries to protect her peace. She does not allow unnecessary stress, toxic relationships, or unhealthy comparisons to rob her of her joy. She is not afraid to walk away from people or situations that do not serve her well-being. She understands that not every battle is worth fighting, and she does not waste her energy on things that do not align with her purpose. She preserves her mental and emotional strength by choosing her battles wisely and focusing only on what truly matters. She knows that her mind is her greatest asset, and she protects it with the same diligence that she would protect anything valuable. A smart woman understands that growth is not automatic, it is intentional. She knows that if she wants to reach her full potential, she must continuously invest in herself. She does not settle for what she already knows or what she has already achieved. Instead, she seeks to expand her knowledge, sharpen her skills, and improve her mindset. She understands that stagnation is the enemy of success, and she refuses to remain the same person year after year. She does not wait for opportunities to come to her. She prepares for them in advance. She studies, she learns, and she challenges herself to grow beyond her current level. She understands that growth requires discipline. It is not enough to have big dreams. She must also have the discipline to take action. She sets aside time to develop herself, whether through reading, taking courses, or seeking mentorship. She prioritizes learning because she knows that knowledge is power. And the more she knows, the better equipped she is to navigate life's challenges. She does not waste time on distractions that do not contribute to her growth. She values productivity over entertainment and wisdom over temporary pleasures. She is willing to make sacrifices today for the sake of a greater tomorrow. She also understands that growth requires stepping out of her comfort zone. A woman who refuses to challenge herself will never know what she is truly capable of. She embraces discomfort because she knows that growth happens in the stretch. She does not allow fear to hold her back from new experiences, new challenges, or new responsibilities. She takes risks knowing that every failure is a lesson and every challenge is an opportunity to become stronger. She does not run from difficulties. She faces them head on, understanding that pressure produces diamonds. A woman who invests in growth does not surround herself with people who keep her small. She seeks out relationships that push her to think bigger and aim higher. She listens to those who have walked the path before her, learning from their wisdom instead of making unnecessary mistakes. She values mentorship because she knows that success leaves clues, and there is no need to struggle alone when she can learn from others. She is humble enough to receive correction and wise enough to apply what she learns. She understands that growth is a lifelong journey, not a one-time event. She also knows that true growth is not just about knowledge, but about transformation. She does not just accumulate information, she applies what she learns. She takes action on the wisdom she gains, turning ideas into results. She does not just read about success, she works towards it. She does not just dream about a better life, she builds it. She does not allow procrastination to rob her of progress. She takes small, consistent steps every day, knowing that every little effort compounds over time. A woman committed to growth takes care of every part of herself, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. She does not neglect her well-being in the pursuit of success. She knows that a strong mind and a healthy body are essential for sustaining long-run achievement. She makes time for reflection, for self-care, and for spiritual renewal. She guards her energy, making sure she is in the right state of mind to make wise decisions. She takes responsibility for her own development, never blaming circumstances or other people for where she is in life. She knows that growth is her responsibility, and she refuses to let excuses stand in her way. A smart woman understands that confidence is not about arrogance, but about assurance. She knows who she is, what she carries, and the value she brings to the world. She does not wait for others to affirm her before she believes in herself. She walks into every room with the knowledge that she belongs, not because someone else said so, but because she has prepared herself and developed the skills, mindset, and wisdom necessary to stand strong. She does not shrink herself to make others comfortable, nor does she feel the need to prove her worth to anyone. She carries herself with grace, understanding that true confidence is quiet, not loud. It is displayed in how she handles challenges, how she treats others, and how she responds to both success and failure. She is not easily shaken by criticism or rejection because her confidence is built on a foundation stronger than public opinion. She understands that not everyone will agree with her, not everyone will support her, and not everyone will see her vision. But that does not stop her from moving forward. She does not allow negative words to plant doubt in her mind. She filters what she hears, choosing to accept only what builds her up and strengthens her resolve. She does not need applause to feel validated, nor does she allow opposition to make her question her abilities. A woman who walks with confidence and grace knows that her presence speaks before she even says a word. She is intentional about how she presents herself, not because she seeks approval, but because she respects herself. She knows that how she carries herself reflects her mindset and self-perception. She does not allow insecurities to dictate her actions. Instead, she trains her mind to focus on her strengths and embrace her uniqueness. She does not compare herself to others because she understands that comparison leads to either insecurity or pride, neither of which serve her well. She chooses to focus on her own growth, knowing that her only competition is the person she was yesterday. She also understands that true confidence is not about dominance, but about security. She does not have to belittle others to feel powerful. She does not seek to control people or situations out of fear. Instead, she stands firm in her own identity and allows others to do the same. She listens more than she speaks, knowing that wisdom is found in understanding, not just in being heard. She respects the opinions of others while remaining rooted in her own values. She is not swayed by peer pressure or manipulated by flattery. She trusts her instincts, makes decisions with clarity, and moves with purpose. She carries grace in the way she handles success and failure alike. When she wins, she does not become boastful. She remains humble, knowing that every victory is a result of discipline, faith, and perseverance. When she faces setbacks, she does not crumble in defeat. She learns, adapts, and rises stronger. She does not waste time dwelling on mistakes, but takes every lesson and applies it to her journey. She does not see obstacles as the end of the road, but as opportunities to prove her resilience. A woman of confidence and grace is careful with her words and actions. She understands that the way she speaks reflects the state of her mind. She chooses words that uplift rather than tear down. She does not engage in unnecessary arguments or seek validation through conflict. She remains composed even in difficult situations because she knows that emotions should not dictate behavior. She does not need to demand respect. She commands it through the way she carries herself. She does not chase attention or force relationships. She knows that the right people will be drawn to her authenticity, and she refuses to lower herself for temporary acceptance.